We're using our old technology, a telephone, but we've got Thomas here. Thomas Hogarth is, of course, with the Rochester Nighthawks and the Peterborough Lakers. So when we talk about players, this guy understands what it's like to be a lacrosse player. It almost seems 365 days of the year. So for Gary Grube and now Thomas Hogarth, I welcome you to the program. And Thomas, our first question is always, what got you started? What made you pick up a stick?
What made me pick up a stick was when I was younger, my parents wanted me to play sport during the summer. I played hockey during the winter, so during the summer they wanted to keep me busy and active. I think they chose lacrosse. I know my older brother started before I did, and then they ended up passing it down to me, and I just stuck with it.
Now, as far as being a player is concerned, when did you feel you had a really good aptitude to this, or was it because you felt you were good at it that you continued playing?
I was just playing just for the love of the game off the start. I know I feel like I didn't take off.
And then it just the rest is history, as they say. I don't know if I lost him.
Are you there? Hey, Thomas?
Thomas, you there? The phone's on.
Well, we can try and recall.
Okay, I'll do that. I got to take it off here, and then I'll do that. Go ahead, Gary. Why don't you give us a little background from your perspective of who he is while I handle this part?
Sure. Well, Thomas, he started his career. He was drafted 20th overall in 2016 by the Georgia Swarm. Made the practice squad. Never played for them. He actually was cut. I think for missing a practice. We'll get him to clarify on that one. But Vancouver picked him up and had him on the main roster, and he wound up playing 2.5 years with Vancouver. And from there, he was traded to Buffalo. He was still a D-man at the time. He didn't move to be an O-man until, I believe, his third year with Buffalo. And in that year, he broke out as an offensive player. Hurt his knee and missed 2020, the shortened season. And also, then we had COVID. He came back strong. He was traded during that time to Rochester, and hasn't looked back. His numbers are spectacular as an offensive guy there.
Have we got you again, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Okay, we lost you there. We got you back. The wonders of technology.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so you caught what he was saying there, and we were talking about your beginnings with lacrosse. And Gary, go ahead. Ask him your first question.
All right. So, growing up in Lakefield, which is I'm assuming close to Peterborough, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like 15 minutes out of town, so it's kind of just on the outskirts of Peterborough, like in the country.
Right. So playing, I guess, hockey and lacrosse out there, you had to go into Peterborough to play, right?
So hockey, we had a C division in Lakefield, which I ended up playing for a couple of years, and then I went into Peterborough and played AAA for a little bit, and then went back. But for lacrosse, there was not enough kids out in Lakefield to play lacrosse, and we all went into Peterborough to play. So that was the only area I could play lacrosse at the time.
Right, and it's a town where everybody knows everybody, right?
Oh, exactly. I think I had 200 kids in my high school, if that.
Being a Toronto guy, I think I had 3,000 in mine, so I think we had 200 in my grade. Oh my, that's wild. But anyways, you moving into it, you go into junior and you're playing with Peterborough. Now, if I had heard it right, you didn't make junior A your first time around, right?
No, I actually got cut my first year. I tried it for offense actually, and I ended up getting cut, and I made junior C. I was going to play junior B in Clarington, but it was kind of just a long drive, and I didn't have my license at the time, so my parents didn't want to do all that driving. So I just stuck to Peterborough and played junior C.
Right. And eventually you got on as a D-man, right?
Oh yeah, I got on. I started playing junior A. I actually tore my ACL in junior C in my last couple games in playoffs, which kind of set me back for a year because I had to wait for my growth plate to stop growing. So I missed like a year and a half of lacrosse because I had to wait to stop growing so they could do the surgery on me.
Oh wow! So you play as a D-man in Peterborough from 14 to 16. You get traded to Orangeville, and over there you became an O-man, right? You became an offensive guy.
Yeah, so I ended up playing a little bit of offense in Peterborough my last year before I got traded. So I'd play defense and run all the way down there and play offense as well. And then when I went to Orangeville, the defense, we had a strong defense back there and a lot of guys we could trust. So I think they just wanted me to play straight offense and kind of open guys up.
Right. Now, here's my question, because we've had a lot of guys on the show, both from Peterborough and from Orangeville, and it's been the most important thing in their careers actually playing for those teams, even more than starting in the NLL. The programs themselves are tops. What differentiates the two, do you think? Because you've played for both.
Honestly, I didn't find too much of a difference. Like there's a lot of support for the alumni. There's you pack the crowds, even as junior in Peterborough. Like we're getting 400, 500 fans a game, and then in Orangeville, the Bunny Barn, like you'd pack that on a good night. So I feel like everything was almost the exact same. I know they're both big organizations, and everyone wants to play for them. I know growing up in Peterborough, that was a big thing for us. Was Monday night you'd go watch the junior A's, and Thursday you'd go watch the senior A's. So playing for like the junior A's was definitely a great experience, and I do cherish it. And then going to Orangeville was you don't realize how important other teams are, right? You only worry about like where your hometown is. So playing for Orangeville and seeing like all the support from the fans and the alumni and everything, it was just great to see. And it was just as soon as I got there, it was all open arms, and it kind of helped moving over there with Matt Gilray as well, who was part of the trade as well. And
right.
actually, so far, I bet you every team we've played on, we were on the same team. Even in NLL, Peterborough senior, he was in Buffalo. He got drafted to Buffalo, and then I got traded to Buffalo, and then I got traded to Rochester, and then he ended up getting traded probably like a month later. So we seem to stick together, and he's actually my roommate as well. So it works out.
That's very good.
When you look at where you played, you went from Peterborough to Orangeville. You're talking about two pretty heavy hotbeds for lacrosse. You didn't feel any different playing there, right? As far as the crowds are concerned, it was very exciting. Were you surprised at the reception that you received?
Oh, I honestly didn't know what I was expecting because like, there's so much hate between Peterborough and Orangeville when you play each other, right? Usually we have like a big brawl or something, so I wasn't sure how I was going to get welcomed in there, but they welcomed me in there with open arms. I think the only difference I found was the rink. The size of the NEM Center is massive, and then you go to the Bunny Barn, it's tiny.
Right.
And it's just the heat too. Like Peterborough, we have AC, and then Orangeville, it's just a hot box, right? That's why it's called the Bunny Barn. You're just sweating nonstop. I feel like I lost like 10, 15 pounds just the 2 months I played there.
Yeah, I think you witnessed the reason why the games are so hard between the two.
Oh, 100%.
The fans are the same in both towns. I guess the rinks are a little different, but the excitement behind the game of lacrosse, it's wonderful. Thanks for answering that question for me. I'm sure Gary has more questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that run was an excellent run by Orangeville and a heartbreaker at the end. Overtime in Minto, yeah.
Yeah, we ended up losing, I think 6-5, 5-4. I don't know. It was our series against them was so low scoring. Like they had Del Bianco, we had Nolan Clayton, and he was playing well at the time. So it was just it was a goalie affair, basically. Like them just squaring off. I know in the end, I did get stopped by Del Bianco with like 5 seconds left to tie, and I still think about that to this day.
Well, four-man cups will help erase some of that memory, but we'll get to that in a bit. You get drafted 20th overall by Georgia. Made the practice squad, and then you have an interesting story how you found out you weren't with Georgia anymore.
Yeah, I ended up watching the game. Like I think it was New Year's, and it was just like they released me, and like they announced it before the game. So I never really got a call at that time from Georgia before. I don't know if it was just at the spur of the moment for them, but yeah, I guess they forgot to call me, but they did end up calling me maybe like a week later just to let me know. But I already found out through Twitter and the social media and everything.
Right. So you're sitting at home and you get a couple of offers, and Vancouver's the one that calls you and says that they'll put you on the roster.
Yeah, they were the first ones that offered me active roster. All the rest were practice roster. And do you know what? At the time, I honestly didn't know the difference. Like I didn't know practice roster, didn't play, or just practice. I guess I thought they were just like a part of the team. So when I heard active roster, I kind of looked into it, and I was like, you know what? I think I should probably go out west and compete for, I guess, a title and play an active role.
Right. And little did you know that Langley is a lot further than just Vancouver, right?
Mm-hmm.
100%. The worst part was I was still in school at the time too, so I was at Trent. So I was flying out Friday morning around, I leave Peterborough around 4 in the morning, land there at 10 in the morning in Vancouver time, and I wouldn't get home till Sunday at 10 at night. So it was a long 3 years for sure. So I was actually quite grateful to get traded out east.
I guess I have family out there, and I remember just taking the sky train all the way out to the end, and still have another 40 minutes to try and get out to the arena. So,
100%. Yeah.
To do that every, I give you kudos for that. That's just, the love of the game, and then some. And on top of that, Vancouver was rebuilding, right?
Yeah.
To make it even worse, is like they had their championship runs before you got there, and this was the rebuild. So yeah, you were still a DP in there, right? In Vancouver.
It was we still had like some great players though. We had like Reese Dodge, Shaw Smallsy, Logan Schuss. I know Durston was there when I got there. And then we had the defense as well. We had like Matt Beers, Hodgson played when I was there. He was a great captain. O'Doherty, like we just had like a lot of veteran players that I was able to learn from, and I do think that helped me with my game. Was just learning from like the veteran defensemen out there. I know Hodgson took me aside a lot and helped me with my defensive game, and then just watching like Reese Dutch shoot a ball, it was just incredible. Like watching him put the ball in the back of the net, the way he shot, different release points, even like Logan Schuss, like he could shoot a ball too. And obviously, everyone knows about Corey Small, that guy's just a natural goal scorer.
Right. Now, you get traded from Vancouver, I believe it's a one-on-one thing for Pat Saunders, right? To Buffalo.
Yeah, it was just 1-for-1, yeah.
So you go on to another team. Now you're on a juggernaut, because Buffalo is just raring to go at that point. They make it to the finals your first year, and you run into Kristen Del Bianco again.
Yeah, so I think my first year I got there, I think we got beat out in the semis, I think. I don't know if we made it to...
Okay, yeah.
The final.
2018,
Yeah, so I played defense my first year when I got there, and then kind of like my second year, they gave me like an opportunity during training camp to play a little bit of offense and then a little bit of defense. It was shortly after a Man Cup win, and I was playing more offensive for Peterborough, so I think they wanted to see what I could do. I know in Peterborough I started to open up Sean Evans a little bit more, so that they thought maybe I could do the same for Dane, and it ended up working out for us as well. And then we ended up picking Shawnee up as well, so that chemistry was there. And then, we ended up running back into Del Bianco as well. And like he played great like the whole series. And even this year, he's playing outstanding.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk a bit about you get hurt, your knee again, and you're out for the 2020 shortened season, and then COVID hits, and you're out. Obviously, everybody's out for 2021. It actually worked to your benefit, I guess, in rehab.
To a certain extent, yeah, for sure. I know we had difficulties finding like the right doctor. I know we had a doctor in Rochester that we were talking to. We didn't feel comfortable with him, and then we ended up going with Dr. Rob in Buffalo, who is the Buffalo doctor actually, and he did a great job on my knee. But after that, I started doing rehab in the Peterborough area with Kevin Hickey, who's the trainer for the Lakers. So I did all my physio with him, but halfway through, that's when COVID hit. So I wasn't able to go into the clinic anymore. So I had to set up my laptop at home, and then we do physio through a laptop for about 4
Wow.
months.
And well, at least one good thing is that when everything was lifted and you're able to go back now with Rochester, that there was no restraints. You had rehabbed, you're ready. There wouldn't be any question about your knee.
No, yeah, so it actually worked out in my favor. I feel like I was gonna rush it because I wanted to come back for the end of that season for before COVID. So I was that was a plan for us, was to work towards that. So it would have been 9 months right in the dock for me to step back on the floor. But then with COVID, it kind of worked out for me because I was able to take that extra year. I was able to build more muscle in my legs, run a little bit more, and just build more confidence in my knee.
Right. Now, with this trade from Buffalo to Rochester, this was more of a blockbuster kind of a deal because Dan Lintner, Frank Brown, fourth round pick go to Buffalo. You, Dallas Bridle, and a second and third round pick come to Rochester. So Rochester's tinkering around with the new expansion team and trying to right the ship, so to speak. And you were a big part of that, I would say.
Yeah, so I actually got traded like 2 weeks after surgery. So it was I didn't expect it. I know it was kind of like a blindside to me, but like I know Buffalo was going for the win that year, and I know Rochester wanted me pretty badly at the time. So it was I know Dan Carey was pushing for me, so that's why I was a part of the trade. But like I feel like it was good for my career and able to have more of a role in Rochester right now, which is a little bit better for me.
Well, yeah, it must be like old home week because you got Mike Hazen behind the bench, who's your Peterborough coach. You got Dan Carey. You've got, I think it's 9 Lakers altogether on the Nighthawks. So it's a pretty good chemistry, I would say.
100%. I know as soon as I got traded there, it was Dan Carey from Peterborough, so he gave me a call, and like we had a good conversation. And then my Hazer phoned me right after, so it was a great feeling to go to. Definitely to people I know, and then even with the players as well, like playing with like Holden Katoni, Turner Evans, and all those guys from Peterborough. It was a good transition, especially for like roadies now. So that there's like 5 of us in the car now going down to Rochester. So we tend to have a good time.
Mm-hmm. So, do you stick around after the game, or do you try and get back the same night? That's a long drive.
You know what? We actually probably 80% of the time we come home. Like we usually get home around 2 o'clock.
The geography tells me that it would be great if you had a nice little speedboat to go from.
Yeah.
Right?
On a clear day, you can actually look across and see Rochester across
Exactly.
Lake Ontario.
Exactly. And then you have to drive half around Lake Ontario. So yeah, it's a tough ride. I just wanted to throw that in because I love boats. What can I say?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, before I get into this year's Nighthawks team, I want to talk a bit about the MSL and your career at Peterborough. Your entire career so far has been with Peterborough, and with that comes 4-man cups. Is there a favorite one of those 4?
It's like
I know they're all special. And this last one, I was up in the alumni box watching with all the guys, and it was just spectacular. Especially that last game and heading into the third period, tied up, was just wow. And watching everybody just kind of not knowing what's about to happen. It's just you could feel that tension and the energy in that building, game in, game out.
100%. And like, dude, like my first one I won out in New West. It was kind of special. I've never played on like a wooden floor. Obviously, the first one you win is special. And just the way we came back, like we were down 2-0, and we ended up winning 4 in a row. So that was pretty special. But like I feel like all the ones you win at home are great because like you got your friends and family in the crowd. Even the last one, I felt like I played more of a role that year. So I feel like that one was special with me. and just like you said, like we haven't had a series where we've done 7 in the Man Cup, so it was quite nerve wracking, even just holding the ball in the last period, right? Because we weren't sure what was going to happen. So it was kind of lucky for us because we ended up getting up on top early in the third and kind of like held with it. But yeah, it's great to win in front of your friends and family for sure.
Right. And the Lakers have so many weapons. You were such a big part of that season. You regular season 30 points, playoffs 17, Man Cup 6 goals, 5 assists. You were a huge part of that win, as well as being a big body and setting great picks and allowing Katoni and guys like that to fire those lasers and howitzers from the outside. So the whole chemistry worked very, very well from what I could see up in the box.
Yeah, in Peterborough, it's basically like an all-star team. Like we got so much firepower up front. So like if one person's not going off that night, someone else is. Like we have Vitarelli, Small, Mark Matthews, Katoni, Turner Evans, Sean Evans, even like Joe Rezateris is a big pickup for us as well. That guy has been lights out lately, and he can shoot a ball as well. Even like the younger guys as well, like even Austin Hazen stepping in, like he played a good role for us as well. Like he was opening up guys, and he was scoring when he could. So I feel like it was just we were just clicking, and it's hard to coach a team like that, right? When everyone's so talented. So like TK did a great job. He gave us a couple plays, but like usually it was just us like free balling out there, and it felt like playing in the backyard actually. That just you get wide open, next thing you know the ball's in your stick, and like you didn't even know the pass is there yet.
Right. That's the chemistry of everything there, yeah. And you're talking about Austin Hazen. I watched him as a junior because I had a lot to do with the Brampton organization, and that kid from the time he was small, just like Jeff Teat, Clark Peterson, those guys, just they have that it factor, and he's going to be a huge success in the NLL as well, I think.
100%. Like he's you can tell he's growing as a player right now. He's definitely taken a step back right now and learning lots from all the guys in Rochester, and he's rolling with it. He's playing well. He's even he plays a big factor for us. He's a big body out there, and he's able to do a lot of picks for us. And he's doing all the small things right now, and it's working out for him.
Right. And even in the series, in his last series, Matt Vince played fantastic. But there was kind of a goalie by committee throughout the season because you have Mike Poulin in there. You even had Deacon Knott as a backup for a game or two.
Yeah, that's the best thing with Peterborough, right? We're so deep. Like if one goalie gets hurt, we have another one lined up. But even we have Pooley, Bucky, and then Vino. So like those are 3 good goalies right there. And Bucky carried us like most of the year. Ended up getting hurt, and then Vino stepped in. And then we had Poole in there who could play at any time. We even have Landon Kells. Like it's wild who we have. Like Drew Hutchison, Deacon Knott. Like our goalies are very deep right now, which is very well for us.
Yeah, for that push for 5 that Paul Day is already, making sure that we all hear. No pressure, right? No pressure.
No pressure.
Now, I want to talk just a bit about the MSL in general because there's so much drama in that league that every time they seem to turn a corner, it seems they step on their own toes. What's your take on the stuff that's going on, or is it just just play when you're told to play and that's it?
Honestly, being in Peterborough, like we don't worry too much about it. Like we just worry about like us and like when we play. I honestly don't even know what's going on in Brampton and Owen Sound. It's just more we're just worrying about we're worrying about us. We don't like we can't predict that, right? So we're just worrying about us and doing what we can do.
Sure. Now, the one thing that I noticed because I was up, especially last year, to a number of Lakers games, is the city stops game day. Everything is about the Lakers. You go into the bars and you have the legends in the bars, and it's great to sit around and talk with Johnny Davis or John Grant Sr. And just the tradition is just it oozes out of Peterborough, heading even towards the game. Not even talking about being in the arena. Just that culture.
Yeah, like the Peterborough, like Peterborough's a great town. Like you said, it's a big hotbed, and like they love us there. It's we even got some. Murals on buses going around town and everything. I think Shawnee's in the middle of all of them. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, it's great to see because you grow up, right? And it's every Thursday night. That's what you went to. You went to the senior A games. Like we'd even like when I was on Tyke or Pee Wee, like we practiced, and the first thing we did was carry that rink and straight to the MEM Center. So it's definitely special playing for them. And like even after games, like we'll sit in the dressing room and you'll have guys come down that used to play, and you're just in awe with them. Like I know Kyle Laverty comes down all the time. We have John Grant Sr., even John Grant's there a couple times. So like there's just like a whole bunch of history in that room, right? And it's you take pride in it.
Yeah, for sure. My question to you is, you talked about when you were young and you played. What was it like the first time you got called up, and now you're in the Lakers dressing room getting ready to play?
It was definitely nerve wracking. I know it was my last year junior. I got called up to play defense, so it was. It's kind of right now. It's kind of a little hazy to think about it because it just happened so fast, right? I was just you get in the room and then you see guys like John Grant Jr. getting dressed, like Kyle Laverty, Sean Evans, and it's just you just think you'd never share a dressing room with them, and there you are getting ready to a game with them. So it was quite special to me, and then having friends and family there, seeing you play your first game is pretty exciting. I know a lot of people, guys, take pride in it. I know when people get called up, it's a big deal to play for us.
When you what did it take for you to calm down and get to playing your game? Was it the first shot you took?
Well, I'm usually pretty good. Like I get like nervous right till the opening draw. And as soon as my foot touches the floor, I feel like everything goes away for me, and I just focus on the game.
Now the 2023 Haudenosaunee Nationals announced their roster, and you were there as an attackman. Let's talk a bit about that.
So I ended up they've had a couple tryouts. The first tryout I didn't end up going because I had a game against Toronto that night. But the second I missed as well because I had to talk with like Dan Carey and everything like that, and due to like all my injuries, like it was we didn't want to take that risk, especially like how well Rochester's doing right now.
Yeah.
So we didn't want me to go out there and get hurt, and I know Iroquois is very receptive of it, and they respected our answers. And then I just had a conversation with Lars, the head coach, and then the GM and everyone. So like I was able to sit down, have conversations with them, and tell them I was interested in playing. And then they just told me they'd get back to me, and if they tell me if I made it or not. And then I ended up making a team, which is a very great experience. It's always a humbling experience putting on an Iroquois jersey. I know I've done it in 2019 at the Worlds. So I haven't played too much field in a couple of years. Like the last time was Chesapeake, which was in like 2018. So I know we will have practices I'll be going to kind of get back into the rhythm of field lacrosse. But it's a great experience, and I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Do you enjoy the field game, or after being in tight so much with the box game, it has to be a different mindset altogether?
I like I said, I haven't played field lacrosse in forever. I think the last time I actually played was at Trent, and that was I think 2017, 18. Right. So it's definitely a learning curve for me, and it's going to help playing with guys like Lyle. Right, he can find you anywhere. So
sure,
there's a lot of talent on that team, and I feel like we have a good contending team for a championship there.
Definitely. Looking at the roster, with Brendan Bomry, Kyle Jackson, Zach Miller, Tahoka, Austin Stoss, Randy Stoss. Yeah, I'd say you have a really good attack man team.
Yeah.
Any interest in the Olympics?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. Like, hopefully, I don't know.
It's another different game. Sorry, Gary.
Sure. Well, I was just wondering what your take is on lacrosse sixes, as opposed to just
sixes. Yeah, so I was actually supposed to go out and play sixes with Iroquois, but I ended up. I think I got hurt before that, so I ended up having to pull myself from that. But it's definitely a fast game. I know I watched it, and like we have guys from Peterborough playing there. Zach Courier, which he said it's a fast game. He said it's a totally different game altogether. Like it's as soon as you score, the ball's gone. Like it's kind of like backyard lacrosse. It's up and down transition. So it feeds into like those guys that are very very strong at transition, like Challen Rogers and all like that. So it's definitely a different game, and I do have interest in playing, and I hope to play.
It's totally different. I mean, it's a shorter field, a smaller field. It makes for a really interesting difference.
Even watching the PLL sixes, it was definitely totally different what they're used to as well. It was so fast paced, and like it was just the talent comes out when you play sixes because you're so tight to the net, and that's when all the stick skills come out.
Yeah,
absolutely. You've been compared to Mark Matthews in your style of play. What do you figure, especially now that you've played with him in Peterborough? Would you say that you have kind of a similar game?
It's kind of hard to compare someone to like Mark Matthews. Like he's such a talented player, right? He's been at the top of the league forever, so it's hard to compare my game to his. He can shoot a ball. I feel like we do have different styles, and we are similar at the same time. He has nice hands inside, so I feel like there is some similars, but like I know for myself, it's hard to compare myself to Mark.
Right. Well, seeing you the way you're set up now at the top of the crease, picking up rebounds and putting it in, I don't sell yourself short. I think you have pretty good hands yourself. Working with this year's Nighthawk team, what is so different from the teams previous that everything is clicking this year? I know, of course, Hartley is spectacular in net. Like he's the real deal. I remember him winning the Minto Cup with Orangeville. But some of the other things, Connor Fields, Ryan Smith, yourself, all of a sudden everything is clicking.
Yeah, I think there's just like obviously like Hartley playing in net, it's big for us. Like he's having a tremendous year. Like he's making those stops that he shouldn't have, and it's given us confidence in the back end and the front end. And last year, I know we went through a lot of growing pain, like a lot of injuries last year. So we had guys playing that first time playing, first year. So it was kind of like a learning experience for a lot of guys. But we didn't get blown out of the water last year at all. Like we were 1 goal, 2 goals away from winning all the time. So I feel like it was just the confidence there of just learning. Sometimes like a saying is, you got to learn to lose before you can win. So I think last year was a great learning experience for us, and then we just brought the same work ethic over to this year, and that's what the coaches preach, is just work ethic, and we're working for each other. Like adding Connor Fields is a big pickup for us. The guy's getting like 8 points a game, so it's hard to shut him down. But as soon as you do shut him down, you got Holden Katoni who's going to go off, and then Ryan Smith, Niter. So it's just we built that chemistry. I know last year it was hard to build chemistry first time together. So that first year it was a lot of growing for us as an offense, and then this year adding Austin Hayes, and we even got like Vila as well, who's a young guy who's learning, and then we adding Connor Fields. It was just confidence for our offense, and then right now everything's clicking for us, and the ball's dropping for us right now, and it's we tend to score in bunches. I don't know what it is, but like as soon as we get one, I feel like the confidence grows on that bench, and we know we're going to get another one within a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's tough enough to walk into a room and be the new guy, but walk into a room and everybody's a new guy. It's a little different. It's quite the challenge. You guys have done a marvelous job considering. I just want to remind people who you are. We're talking to Thomas Hogarth of the Rochester Nighthawks, and of course, our host, Gary Grube, and myself, Candid Frank. Hope you guys are enjoying the program so far, and let's get in a little deeper into your game. How do you feel your game has evolved? Gary touched on it. You were a defender. Now you're more about offense. What other things have you learned as a player? What other growth have you experienced?
I feel like it's more patience with the ball. Like I used to get the ball and shoot it right away. Now it's like I get the ball and I have more confidence in myself. So I'm able to hold the ball longer, find the open guy, or even have an extra shot, or find a shot or a shooting lane. So I feel like right now patience with the ball. And then I find like a big part of my game is the off-ball game. A lot of guys always focus on, like the defenders always focus on the guys who have the ball. So I feel like as soon as you learn to play off-ball, it kind of goes towards your game. I know I built a lot of chemistry with Shawnee and Peterborough, and I was able to learn from him like how to get open off ball, which gave me a lot of success right now, especially in Rochester with Connor Fields and like Holden Gattoni and all the whole left side just passing the ball to me. Even the right side right now, like we have all this chemistry right now, and it's just growing, and it's just learning how to I guess get open off ball, set proper picks, and just try to get others open. As soon as you get others open, you tend to get open yourself.
Yeah, so the technical side of the game is something that keeps growing for you as you move along in your career.
100%, yeah.
What's it like to have someone with the experience like a Paul Dawson to be there in the dressing room as well as on the floor to steady the ship? Because again, you're talking about having a bunch of new guys trying to get it together, but having him as the captain and the guy leader, often off the floor and on the floor.
It's great to have a leader like that. He seems to settle us down. Like when teams start getting on runs, like you can tell there's a little bit of panic in our on our bench, and like having a leader like that, he's able to like give us the confidence to settle down and get right back into our game. Even like having Dan Coates as well. Like Coates, he's great with that too. He's so serious all the time. So like as soon as you see a guy like that, like you tend to get serious yourself. Even at practices, like those guys are going 110%, and it makes the young guys go hard as well. And it teaches you that this is we only have one practice a week, so like, we have to make it count. So that's why they're going so hard, and you can just feed off it, and you can just tell at practices like all the effort going into them. And right now, you can tell with our record how hard we're working off, like away from the rink right now. Especially right now, there's a lot of guys working out, and that's big for us because I feel like that's a big part of our game right now. The game's growing, it's faster, it's stronger. So like it's the work you do away from the rink, and those guys preach it.
One of the games that I have circled, I can't wait to see actually, is Calgary against you guys, because you guys are built pretty much the same. The goaltending are both young guys who are very, very agile, reflex goalies, heavy in transition, with a lot of scoring punch. So a game like that is one that I think would be, a great thing for the NLL to do as a showcase, just to show all the young talent as well as the excitement of the game. You think?
Yeah, Calgary is doing great right now. They, I don't think anyone expected them to do as well as they're doing right now. Same with us. I know we were last place in the rankings. Like even like the betting odds, I think our odds were like 7,000. So I think with our young team and their young team, we're learning, and it's a great learning experience for both teams, and we're showing that there's a younger generation coming up, and it's they're starting to play well.
Now, we talked about the crowds in Peterborough. Now, I remember during the championship years in Rochester and getting 9,000 or 10,000 at the Blue Cross Arena, and it was one of the loudest buildings that I would go to, and my ears would be ringing for days afterwards. Obviously, during the end of the old Nighthawks and the beginning of the new Nighthawks, there was a drop off. What I noticed this year coming in is that the crowds are starting to come back, the energy's starting to come back. As a player, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, even the new branding, right? There's I know that we lost a lot of fans, and then just last year with our record, and like we didn't do so good at home. I feel like we had a losing record at home, so like I don't think fans wanted to come watch us lose. So and this year we're starting to win. I think we're undefeated at home, so we give the fans a lot to cheer about, and that's just bringing more fans in. I think our last game in Rochester was a pretty close one. So right now, just the one goal games and the way our style of play, we're starting to get more interest in Rochester. So we feel like the fans are growing every game. I know off the start of the year we didn't have too many fans, and now we're starting to pack the lower bowl, and like hopefully soon we can pack the top bowl.
Yeah, the crowd had a right to be a little pessimistic, right? You could understand their reticence to show up because the team was on a restart.
Oh, 100%. I don't blame them at all. We were struggling last year, and then like we definitely turned a corner this year. So like to see the fans come back and starting to put more faith in us is good to see.
Yeah, it's well earned, and it's a good feeling, isn't it, when you build something from nothing, literally.
100%, yeah. And that Dan Carey's done a great job with like a bunch of the trades and then like the signings. Like Brad Gillies is a big signing for us, and like, he's doing great, and that gives us more confidence in the back end. And he's starting to score in transition, so it's just a different threat for us. And just the moves we've made, it's definitely paying off for us this year.
Yeah, we can't forget how deep a history Rochester has in lacrosse. So they've got the kind of support all the time, and all it takes is to have a little bit of success, and the people will be there. It must be comforting to know that when you start to play well, you knew you were going to get the fans back. You know that.
Yeah, 100%. It's almost the same in every like NHL too, right? There's as soon as you start to drop off, like the fans are going away. Like just an example is like Ottawa Senators, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're growing, and their fans are selling tickets for like $5 at one point now. Now they're packing the barn again. So
Yeah,
it's just
you guys have done a lot of hard work, man. To have a bunch of players and then start as an expansion team in an already established town. That I admire the fans there and your organization. You've done a marvelous job of basically helping the league be better, because the whole point of sending the team they sent to Nova Scotia was because they didn't want them to be a team that you can't build a fan base without having a team that plays well. That's a reality. That's a lacrosse admission. The NLL learned that a long time ago. In fact, the team that drafted you first and let you go without you knowing for a week, Georgia, same thing, right? So it's important that teams play well.
yeah, it's a big thing for the fans, is right. Is winning, and no one wants to come watch a team lose. And like I feel like we felt the pain the first couple years. Now this year we're starting to get a better showing, even around town. Like there's a lot more fans.
Yeah, that was a very tightening thing too, creating a lot of camaraderie, and you guys, trial by fire, I guess. You knew who was going to be there for you, and you had a chance to prove to each other that you all had each other's backs, and that's a great opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah, even last year, like we knew we had the pieces in that room. It was just when was it going to start to fall? Like we're a young team, so we're still learning, and like that's we had problems finishing games last year. So right now, we're able to learn from that, and we're starting to finish more games, like a full 60 minutes, and this is paying off for us.
Right. It also helps now that COVID protocols are gone, that there can be more meet and greets with you guys as players after the game, before the game, in different venues, just to see you guys as people, not just guys on the floor, but to actually meet, greet, talk. Especially some of the super fans you have out there, like the Tim Nabs. These guys here, they're the heart and soul of the fan base.
100%. It's like that in Peterborough too, right? Like it's
exactly. Yeah.
We have so many fans is because we interact with them after games. Like we're in restaurants with them, and now in Rochester we're doing the same thing. We have signings after games. We're going out to meet them at different restaurants, and it's just a good way to grow the game and like the fan base.
Yep. Football has its tailgate. Lacrosse has its post game.
Yeah.
Just before we end, your game day routine. Do you have a specific kind of routine that you go through before games, or specific place you go for meals, or anything in routine before heading over to the arenas?
Honestly, like I'm not a big ritual guy. Like I just go with the flow, and I've been like that since I was young. But like I think the only thing that we do for home games is the Peterborough crew. We end up going to a little diner, like a little poppin' mom diner. It's called Charborough Grill, and the boys just love it. We go in there and have a good meal, and then we're back at the hotel for a nap, and then we're going to the rink. But like other than that, like I don't have too many rituals. I think the only thing I tend to do almost every game is tape my stick on the bench before, but other than that, like I just go with the flow, and whatever happens, happens.
Well, I just want to thank you for taking the time midday to do this with us. It's been fantastic. I wish you the best of luck I look forward to actually meeting you in person. I'll be at the April 8th game backstage with credentials. So I look forward to actually getting a chance to talk to you face to face.
Yeah, awesome. It'd be look forward to meeting you. And thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, Thomas. A pleasure to meet you. Thanks for sharing with us your experience in lacrosse. We love sharing this with all the lacrosse folks, and I really appreciate you doing this. Without you, this show and people like you doesn't really mean anything. So it's important that we have you, and it's great that you make the time for it.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, for Gary Grube, and it, Gary. One thing we didn't talk about with him is, and I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to do it. Maybe next time we'll do that. But the idea of what it's like, the camaraderie that he has with the NLL, and then when he plays with the Lakers, because he ends up with a whole new set of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing
Like
didn't
we
get
mentioned,
talked
though,
about.
there's 9 Lakers on the Rochester team, so you've got quite a bit of the Peterborough chemistry.
That continuity, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Gary. I really appreciate this. For Gary Grube and, of course, Thomas Hogarth of the Rochester Nighthawks and the Peterborough Lakers. I can't forget to say that. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk. See you again Thursday at 4 p.m.